Why smart people self-sabotage more than everyone else? Your intelligence is working against you. The same brain that can analyze complex problems, see patterns others miss, and think 10 steps ahead is the exact reason you can't get out of your own way. And the smarter you are, the more sophisticated your self-sabotage becomes. This isn't about lacking discipline or motivation. High-functioning people don't sabotage less. They sabotage more efficiently. With better reasoning, with patterns so complex they look like logic instead of fear, I'm going to show you why intelligence amplifies self-sabotage, how your ability to think becomes a weapon against yourself, and why the most capable people are often the most stuck. Because once you see how your mind builds these elaborate prisons, you can stop mistaking them for rational decisions. You've probably noticed this yourself. You can solve other people's problems instantly. You see their patterns, their blind spots, their self-defeating behaviors with perfect clarity. But when it comes to your own life, you're paralyzed. You overthink every decision until the opportunity passes. You see all possible outcomes and none of them feel safe enough. You need more information, more certainty, more time. And meanwhile, less intelligent people are just doing things, making mistakes, learning, moving forward. And you're sitting there with all this capability, all this potential, watching your life stay exactly the same, while your brain generates increasingly complex explanations for why now isn't the right time. The frustration is maddening. You know you're smart enough to change this. You can intellectually understand exactly what you should do. But understanding doesn't translate to action, and the gap between what you know and what you do keeps widening. People who don't struggle with this have no idea what it's like. They tell you to just stop overthinking, just take action, just be more decisive. Like you haven't tried that 1,000 times, but your brain doesn't work that way. You can't not see the complications. You can't ignore the potential problems. And you definitely can't make decisions without analysing every possible angle first. Except that's not analysis. That's paralysis disguised as preparation. Here's what's actually happening. Your intelligence gives you the ability to generate incredibly convincing reasons not to do things. You're not making excuses. You're constructing arguments. Logical, well-reasoned arguments for why this isn't the right time, why that approach won't work, why the other option is actually problematic. And because you're smart, these arguments sound legitimate. They feel like wisdom, like careful consideration, like rational decision-making. But they're not. They're your nervous system using your intelligence to keep you safe, to keep you from taking risks, to maintain the status quo. Someone with average intelligence might think, I'm scared. You think the market conditions aren't optimal, the timing creates unnecessary risk, and the potential downside outweighs the expected value given current variables. Same fear, different vocabulary, way more convincing. Your brain has learned that if the reasoning is sophisticated enough, you'll believe it. You'll mistake intellectual justification for actual wisdom, and you'll stay stuck while feeling smart about it. This is why smart people often accomplish less than their capability suggests they should. Not because they lack potential, because their intelligence has become the most effective tool for keeping them from using that potential. But there's another layer to this that's even more insidious: perfectionism. When you're intelligent, you can see the gap between what you could produce and what you're currently producing. You can envision the perfect version, the ideal outcome, the flawless execution, and anything less than that feels like failure. So you don't start the project because you can already see it won't meet your standards. You don't share the work because you can identify 17 ways it's not good enough yet. You don't take the opportunity because you can predict exactly how you might fall short. Average intelligence protects people from this. They can't see all the ways something might be imperfect, so they just do it. They make the mediocre thing. They take the imperfect action, and then they improve through iteration. But you can see the flaws before you even begin. Your intelligence has given you the ability to pre-experience failure, to simulate disappointment, to feel the shame of imperfection before you've even tried, so you protect yourself by not trying, by keeping everything theoretical, by maintaining the illusion that you could do it perfectly if you just had more time, more resources, more certainty. This isn't high standards. This is your brain using your ability to visualize outcomes as a mechanism to prevent you from producing any outcome at all. And because you're smart enough to make this sound reasonable, You never question whether the perfectionism is serving you or imprisoning you. Then there's the comparison trap. Intelligent people are constantly benchmarking. You're aware of what others have accomplished. You can see who's ahead of you. You understand exactly how far behind you are in whatever metric you're measuring. And your brain uses this information to construct elaborate arguments for why trying is pointless. Someone else is already doing this better. I'm too late to the field. I don't have the background those people have. By the time I catch up, the opportunity will have passed. These aren't observations. They're preemptive surrender disguised as market analysis. Someone less intelligent doesn't do this calculation. They just think, that looks interesting, and try it. They don't know enough to know they're underqualified. They don't see the competition clearly, enough to be intimidated by it. But your intelligence gives you perfect vision of every obstacle, every disadvantage, every person who's further ahead. And then it uses that information to convince you that starting is irrational. You're not being realistic. You're being smart enough to talk yourself out of everything before you begin. And here's where it gets really dark. Your intelligence lets you understand psychology, which means you can see your own patterns, recognize your self-sabotage, identify the exact mechanisms that keep you stuck. And then your brain uses that knowledge against you. You analyze the pattern instead of changing it. You understand the psychology so thoroughly that you mistake understanding for progress. You collect insights like they're accomplishments. You know exactly why you're stuck, which somehow feels like movement even though nothing's changing. This is intellectual bypassing, using your ability to analyze as a substitute for actually doing the uncomfortable work of change. Someone with less intelligence can't do this. They can't think their way around the pattern, so they have to actually confront it, actually try something different, actually change through action instead of through analysis. But you can understand yourself into even deeper stuckness. You can be so aware of your patterns that you never have to change them, because awareness feels like progress, and your brain will take the feeling of progress over actual progress every single time, if actual progress involves discomfort. So you read more books, take more courses, listen to more podcasts, collect more frameworks, and stay exactly where you are while feeling like you're working on it. Your intelligence has given you the ability to mistake learning about change for actually changing. What does all this mean? It means your intelligence isn't the advantage you think it is. Not when it comes to self-sabotage. Smart people don't overcome obstacles more easily. They construct more sophisticated obstacles. Then spend years convinced those obstacles are real instead of recognizing them as protection mechanisms. Your brain is using your greatest strength as your most effective limitation. And it's doing it so cleverly that you can't see it's happening. The person who takes mediocre action learns and adjusts. The person who thinks about perfect action stays theoretical forever. And your intelligence keeps telling you that more thinking will eventually lead to better action. But it won't. It never does. Thinking about action is how you avoid taking it. This is the trap. You're smart enough to see all the problems, smart enough to generate all the objections, smart enough to analyze all the risks, but apparently not smart enough to recognize that you're doing this to avoid the vulnerability of just trying something and seeing what happens, because that's what this comes down to. Vulnerability. Intelligent people can predict failure, can imagine judgment, can calculate the probability of disappointment. And prediction feels like protection. If you can see it coming, you can avoid it. If you can anticipate the pain, you can prevent it. If you can analyze the risk, you can eliminate it. Except you can't. Risk is part of action. Failure is part of learning. Discomfort is part of growth. And no amount of analysis eliminates any of that. Your intelligence isn't making you safer, it's making you more stuck. And the more sophisticated your reasoning becomes, the harder it is to recognize that you're just afraid. So what do you do with this? You start noticing when your intelligence is serving you and when it's sabotaging you, when your analysis is actually useful and when it's just elaborate avoidance. The next time you're generating complex reasons why something won't work, pause. Ask yourself, is this wisdom or is this fear with a graduate degree? The next time perfectionism stops you from starting, recognize it. Your ability to envision the perfect outcome is being weaponized against your ability to create any outcome at all. The next time you're analyzing instead of acting, catch it. Understanding the pattern is not the same as changing it. And you've understood this pattern long enough. Your intelligence is a tool. Right now, it's being used to keep you safe, to keep you small, to keep you from taking the risks that actual growth requires. But it can be used differently, to solve problems as they arise instead of preventing you from encountering them, to adjust strategies based on real feedback instead of theoretical objections, to build things imperfectly and improve them instead of keeping everything perfect and theoretical. You're smart enough to see how you're sabotaging yourself, which means you're smart enough to stop. You just have to be willing to feel less smart while you do it, to take imperfect action, to learn through mistakes instead of avoiding them through analysis. Your intelligence isn't the problem. How you're using it is. If you're smart enough to relate to this, drop a comment. What's the most sophisticated excuse you've ever generated for not doing something you know you should do? Sometimes naming it helps you see through it.